welcome to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danica. Along with me, we have Lisa Levy, who's the owner of Gotta Dance. And I just gotta give you your acknowledgement because for 40 years, you have been in existence, a stable, thriving business in Morgan City. If I could, I would give you a round of applause without having my microphone go off. But that is something to be celebrated. But I want to get a little bit of history, some things that maybe folks don't know about. Kind of tell me how you got started
How I got started teaching?
and dance, and then move on up to
Well, we moved.
teaching.
My father was with Shell, and he was transferred a lot. So we moved down to Louisiana only for 6 months, and we ended up staying forever. But a neighbor child took dancing from Miss B, and she got me to start. Miss B's assistant teacher was the sheriff back in the '60s. Baudouin,
Okay.
that was his daughter-in-law. So that's where I first taught. Sissy would go to, during the summer break, she would go to like Broadway and stuff and just watch shows.
Come on.
And then she'd come back and teach us what she had seen.
Oh,
And
wow.
then for our 35th year, I awarded a lady that had taught there. She was a young teenager at the time, and Nancy Abear. But I was just in awe of her. I mean, it was a different type of dancing. It was something I'd never seen before, but it hit really what I was interested in, which was more jazz or funk or whatever you want to call it from back then.
I mean, to say that you were only 5 years old and you kind of found your love and your passion, that's impressive. I was just talking to you during the break. I said, you have just this longevity and loyalty that is uncompromised because most people, they don't stay married as long as you have. They don't run a business for as long as you have. So again, kudos to you. But again, so 5 years old, you knew you wanted to dance and you've been dancing ever since because you also started to teach while you were in junior high school.
Yes, but I don't count those years.
But that's okay, because I mean, you were running a business, correct?
Yes, I was teaching.
So technically,
we had little recitals at the elementary schools. They would let me use their buildings to have our recitals, and 20 to 30 students. But it was fun. And that's how I've always explained it to people. I want it to be like the Pied Piper. If I teach, they'll follow me.
Yeah.
And I just felt like that's how it was with all the little children. But when we opened up big is when I was first married and started having my own children. So my kids grew up in the studio, sitting in the corner in an infant seat, and then once they became old enough, they became the dancers.
Yes.
But
So dance is just in the blood.
yes.
Yes. And again, 40 years, but technically you've been in business 48 years. And I was just sitting here telling you, you look good. You look good, Miss Levy, like you do. I mean, 48 years, I don't know how old you are, you don't have to tell me, but you've been doing this for quite a long time, almost 50 years. That is awesome. So you received the Positive Image Citizen Award the night of your 40th year anniversary celebration dance, and you received that from Mayor Lee Dragna. Were you surprised?
Yes.
Yes. How does that make you feel?
I don't like, I had the studio stop it years ago. I don't like being called up on stage at the end of the show to get flowers or something because it just, I don't know, I'm shy, believe it or not. But the stage is somewhere else to me. But it feels awkward to me. I don't like it. So when he called me out, I was just like,
Who am I going to
God.
fuss at after this?
Yeah, everybody's in trouble.
Yeah.
But it was sweet and humbling, and to be recognized out of all the businesses in Morgan City, to be one of them that were lucky enough to receive this was an honor.
That's awesome. And now you're here with me. This too was a surprise. And we are happy to have you here. And like I told you, this is just a conversation because I really want to dig in deep with someone who has had so much longevity in our community. And what has been your staying power? If you can, tell me what has made you go back and do this day after day?
I love to dance. I mean, if I didn't have a dance studio, it's not like I'd be breaking a move at the house constantly, but I love to dance, and I like working with kids, and I love showing them something and them copy it and do it. And some kids you go, is that what you saw in the mirror? That is not what I did. But the majority of them, they just do very well with it, and I enjoy teaching them.
Awesome. And it's definitely, I'm sure, just love. When you love what you do, it's no longer a job. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper and we're going to talk a little bit about the students and talk about just how far they've gone in their dancing career. Just what is it like going to Gotta Dance. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Come on back right here on The Voice of the Coast with yours truly. Welcome back to The Voice of the Coast. Again, I am your host, Danica. Along with me, we have Levy, who is the owner of Gotta Dance. Now, we've talked a little bit about your background. Let's talk a little bit about the dancers and your family, because it is a Gotta Dance family, and you've been in business for 40 years. They're kind of like your children. I mean, I'm
Yes.
assuming you look at them like your children who have grown up and now they have children.
Right.
So it's one big family. How far have a lot of your dance students gone in their dancing career?
I've had several that have danced on the college level. My daughter from dancing worked for UCA for well over 15, maybe 18 years.
Oh.
So, but she was a dancing mascot in high school. She was Morgan City High School.
Oh, okay.
Mascot, but she wasn't just a mascot that stood there. She had dance routines and
Come
everything
on.
else. So we've had several at the college level, and they loved it. And
And there's something you've told me about your dance and what you do. You said if you want to be a ballerina, Gotta Dance is not the studio for you.
no,
What is it for?
if you're in the market for your child to be a ballerina, like in New York, Morgan City isn't the place. Not only Gotta Dance. You're talking, those children take dancing 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. You're not doing that once a week. I find the kids down here are what I would call a jack of all trade, master of none. They're in baseball, basketball, cheer, dance team, dancing, and bowling. I mean, a host of things. So they enjoy doing a lot, and that's great. I think kids should show an interest in everything they can do. But doing all that, you are not going to be a ballerina. That is very much something strict that's what you're giving your life to. I mean, you're homeschooling and you're in a ballet studio all day long, every day of the week. So my kids, it's more about having fun, teaching them stage presence. So if they want to go out and be in theater or teach theater, they can, because they understand the rules of the stage. But to me, it's more about fun.
Okay.
Learning to dance, learning to express yourself, and having a good time.
And would you say this is a sport, and is there discipline attached to this?
Very much, and I'm very much me, Miss Lisa. They have to be disciplined. And it's not just, it's to follow the rules. Stay on the piece of tape. We're all turning to the right. We're marching 4 times, not 2.5 and running off to tell mama something. So I don't coddle the kids, but I love the kids, and I see all of their different personalities, and I think they're hysterical, but I can't let them see me see that, or then they're gonna act like they do with their own parents, and it's a free-for-all. I have to be that person that they know that they have to respect and, mind Miss Lisa. So, I mean, it's like a school
A teacher. I was going to say it's just like a teacher.
Yeah.
So in my mind, and tell me if I'm wrong, I'm thinking, I don't know, Abby Lee Miller?
No,
Okay. Tell me.
I'm not cruel. I'm stern.
Okay.
I think Abby Lee Miller's show was probably one of the worst things that could have happened. I can see her point. I'd love to say some of the things she said before, but you can't say that. But it led the parents to think an odd way. And you have to back up the studio. You have to back up what I say. You can't undo and say, well, Miss Lisa's full of bull when you get home, because then I'm not going to gain their respect. The children are going to follow the parents' lead. So the parents have to stand behind the studio. And I don't like all that. We have an open studio for the parents to sit. I want the parents in there. I find that the kids that excel faster and better are the ones that the parents are there, because especially the little kids, they don't go home and remember what to do, but the parents will.
Okay.
It's forced practice.
That's interesting that you want the parents there, because that is kind of like when they go home, they kind of tell them, well, what did Miss Lisa say? And they're able to kind of give you the backup that you think is necessary for the kids in order to get it. So again, you weren't in business for 40 years just for being a cobbler. So you were doing something right. Come on back. We've got much more to go. Stay right here on The Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Again, I'm your host, Danique. Along with me, we have Lisa Levy, who is the owner of Gotta Dance Studio right here in Morgan City. And this part of the show I really want to touch on because it was started by your son, who's no longer with us, but it's called the Giving Box. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, a few years ago, I walked into the theater, and we've never charged for our programs because they're only paper programs. And there were signs saying, programs, $2. And I was like, where did these signs come from? So I asked the auditorium. And they said, your son with red hair did it. So I called him and I was like, what are you doing? And he said, Mom, I'm Miss Colleen, who's one of our teachers, had breast cancer. And he goes, she has a lot of medical bills, and we can do this to help her pay some of them. So that was the start of the box, and it's just grown throughout the years. Yeah. And each time it has to do with the family that belongs to Gotta Dance, because Gotta Dance is a family. Past students, present students. Once you're a Gotta Dance girl, you're always a Gotta Dance girl. Yeah. So it's a family thing, and we try to help somebody in the studio that has fallen upon some financial or personal hard times.
Hardship, yeah. Now, that's not the only community outreach that you do. You work with other community organizations.
We do toy drives and canned food drives. And we hand it over to Miss June at Pay It Forward. And I want to teach my students, it's not only about receiving, we need to give back to the community.
Yeah, yeah, and it's bigger than dance, right? I mean, there's so many lessons that you learn in, and I feel like any form that you are able to express, any type of expression, it's art. Yes. And art is what you make it, right? So that's just my personal belief in it. I did a little cheerleading, a little dance, but baby, these hamstrings, ooh, don't ask me to get up there and do anything other than maybe I can do a little jig, and that's about it. But I want to talk about something that, okay, so Morgan City, what is it, 6 square miles, something like that? Not big whatsoever, yet when I do the math, it's like 5 dance studios.
Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 of
Yes,
us.
that's quite a lot of dance studios. How do you guys kind of make it work? And that lets me know there's a lot of young girls and young men that are dancing, because you guys are all up and running.
Yes.
Yes, so tell me, I mean, 40 years, by the way, you've been doing this. So, like, how do you guys kind of make it work? What, 4 dance studios in
We all kind
of
offer something different.
Okay.
And everybody has their own opinions and thoughts on what, they think dancing is. And I've always, had an open door. You can come in, see what we have. If that's not you, then, there's other studios here that might offer what you're looking for.
So what are you known for? That's what I don't know. What is, if I say, I'm going to Gotta Dance with Miss Lisa Levy, okay, they're going to say, oh, expect this.
They shake their booties. They put fringe on costumes for a reason.
Okay.
And I've always taught my girls, we wear a high ponytail. And a Gotta Dance girl moves from the tip of her head to the points of her toes. Everything moves. It's not just you're a straight board and your feet are only moving. You're out there.
Okay.
And
so you might have wanted me, because I told you I'd do a little. So you might have wanted. I might have been a real good student.
Well, I had like 20 parents approach me this weekend. We had a big celebration party the next night in the ballroom, and they want a mom's class to start back up.
Okay.
So I was like, okay.
All right. So you're still hightailing it, kicking it, and all kinds of things, right? But I know you also have other instructors. Let's talk about your alumni.
Okay.
Like, they come back every year to do something,
Well,
right?
they come back every anniversary year.
Okay,
To do an alumni dance.
Okay.
And it's just past students. It's always different ones. One of them, she and her daughter drove down from New Orleans once a month, and then when we got closer to the show, it was twice a month because they wanted to be in the show.
Oh,
But
awesome.
the mom was a 15-year student, and her daughter had taken from me probably like 10 or 11 years when they got transferred to New Orleans. But they wanted to be part of this show.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to talk a little bit more about the alumni, like how old is the oldest person that has donned the stage doing the alumni. Also, let's talk about the third generation. You had 3 generations of students. I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, I've heard of moms and their daughters, but you've had grandmom, mom, and daughter. Come on back for our last segment talking to Miss Lisa Levy with Gotta Dance Studios. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. We're going to get right back into it because I love this conversation and what we're talking about. I mean, you've been around now not just for 2 generations, I mean, 3 generations of families who are involved with Gotta Dance. You've taught a grandmother, a mother, and her daughter. And we're talking about alumni, the alumni that come back and they dance all the time. And how old would you say is the oldest person who's come back to dance? Doing the alumni dance?
40.
Wow. Okay. Did she still have it?
Yes, very
She
much
did.
so.
Okay.
Much so.
Okay. And you'd say that's because of the training?
Yes, and she had it as a child, she had it. Her whole little family, her 2 sisters and her, they were just naturals.
Yeah.
Some kids are. You have kids that struggle just like through school, and you have kids that just walk in, and it doesn't matter if they were 3 or. One of the girls I got was probably 13 when I got her. She'd never had dancing. She was just a natural.
Natural.
And anything I threw at her, she was ready to do.
And a question for you, I'd like to ask about what is the most important lesson that you teach? If I talk to an alumnus and I say, what did you learn? What did you walk away with? What is that lesson?
That I was firm but fair. And I mean, I'm constantly invited to weddings and baby births and this.
Awesome.
I mean, these kids and I have a lasting relationship.
Yes. Now, speaking of lasting relationship, you really aren't the only, like 40-year business dance studio. There was another dance studio. Tell me about that. I'll let you say it in your own words.
Well, Hope Johnston, she recently passed away. And she and I started the same, as far as when I opened up big, she bought Dance World from Betty Crawford, and we started at the same time. But we took dancing together as teenagers. And even though we offered a different style of dance, we respected each other. We were friends. We weekly talked on the phone. We, just discussing kids and dancing and, what we thought was hysterical and what we thought was just okay. But it was a nice friendship, and I miss her. And her children, her 2 daughters, are continuing on with the studio, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
Because I hope if something would ever happen to me that Gotta Dance would continue.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've got a daughter-in-law and a daughter and granddaughters that are coming up, so I would hope they would continue the studio.
It's something that I'm sure you have seen in your 40 years, and that's the evolution of dance, particularly gender roles when it comes to dancing. Children are just so much more different, yet they're the same. They're the same. And I asked you about your own children, your own sons getting involved with dance. Would you say that the pressures of the world have really kind of made a bad name for some young men to get involved with dance?
Well, when my boys took dancing, it was about junior high that there was a little teasing and whatnot. Oh, you take dancing. But once they hit high school and it dawned on them, hey,
I'm around
the girls
girls.
are at the dance studio. Let's go dance. And I mean, all of their friends would come and take class, and they did ballets with the girls as far as helping them with lifts and stuff. They didn't take true classes. They came in and learned routines, but the swing numbers were just their favorite.
Yeah.
And you need guys that can pick up girls.
Yeah.
And they all had a blast. And I've got two little grandsons that are, well, one's 3 and one's almost 3. And a couple of the moms were like, hey, you know, your two are growing up, you know, you should start a boys class again.
Oh,
But
awesome.
it's hard with little boys at 3 don't want to stay in line. And
Okay, right.
it's easier to grab them a few years later when they're understand.
Well, I appreciate this so much. I'm gonna give you this opportunity, about 10 seconds, if possible, just to tell the folks in Morgan City, you know, those who have supported you throughout your 40 years.
I'm just grateful. I mean, that they stood behind the studio through our good times and our bad times and our happy times and our sad times. I mean, back in the 80s when mobile moved out, we lost half the studio. And I had to teach in my house for a few years. But I mean, it's keeping it going.
Well, I can tell you those dance parties at your house got to be a hit. So, all right, that's all the time we have. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.